We're so glad you've joined with us today as we continue our study on the book of James. I'm Keola, one of the pastors at City Church, California, and in this lesson, we're going to take a quick look at the author of the book of James. Since we've been studying this in the church, we wanted to give you a little bit more content, context, information, and knowledge on the masterpiece of this writing. And today, I've invited my amazing husband, Steve, into the conversation because he's a brilliant teacher and a pastor here at City Church.
You know, most scholars believe that the writer of this book is James, the half-brother of Jesus.
His English name has been translated to James, but his Greek name was Jacobus, and his Hebrew name was Yaakov. And in fact, because of this, most ancient translations and modern-day translations would more accurately translate his English name to Jacob, not James. But for the sake of this teaching, we're gonna stick with James since that's the book we're in.
Yeah, so he was known as James the Just because of his honesty, his piety, and his strict ascetic practices. James took a Nazirite vow, so he was known to have had incredible self-discipline. He abstained from all forms of indulgence. Really so much so that after Peter leaves Jerusalem to go start new churches, it was James who rose to leadership in the mother church in Jerusalem.
We learn about his story mostly from the book of Acts and Paul's letters. Quick side note here that James, who's martyred in Acts 12:1, is not this James. That was James, the brother of John. But anyway, it appears from Acts 12:17 forward that it's James the Just, James the half-brother of Jesus, who has the most prominent leadership role among the apostles in Jerusalem.
So James was known as a pillar of strength in the Jerusalem church. He was a peacemaker, one who would lead with wisdom and courage until his murder in 69 or 62 AD.
And it's the abundance of commands that he gives us in his writing that signals to us that he has a practical bend, and he's interested in action rather than just belief as the distinguishing characteristic of Christians.
So it'll be really evident as you read the book of James that he wants to move his readers beyond just believing, but to action.
Yeah. So there you have it, everything you need to know about the author of the book of James. We hope you learned something and that this gives you a little more insight as you begin to dive in and study these much needed scriptures.